Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Chairman. What I want to like to do today is to give you a little bit of an update on the silent harassment platform. It's a product which has been done in partnership with a small company in Glasgow, Scotland, ETS, and NMR, a commercial partner. And Jonathan's in the audience, so you can grab him later and ask him questions. Now, there's a risk of repeating a couple of things that's been said already and will be said in the next talk. What I'd like to do is actually concentrate on the scalability aspects of things rather than the actual physical mechanism of detecting the onset of heat. So I'll give you a little bit of the background. I'll just map out some of the elements of the platform, and I'll just reiterate what the last speaker said. This is not a crystal ball. This system is a decision support system. It helps the farmer in his everyday operational issues. Okay, it's not 100% fail-proof, but it's that help and support that it provides, which brings the farmer great value. The scalability can be defined in a number of ways, in a number of cows any one base station can manage, and also, more importantly, the geographical spread, which then opens up a number of different application sectors out with simply dairy industry. Remote access, that's one of the things that really is fundamental to the deployment, maintenance, and the value that system brings any individual farm. And the conclusions will be fairly straightforward. There's no rocket science in any of these things. So many of them are self-evident, but trying to do them is the challenge. You are probably far better placed to determine the move and the dynamic with your own industries and your own communities. But the word precision livestock farming seems to be cropping up a hell of a lot. My interpretation of that is that to be economically viable, the scale of operations needs to increase, so that means larger and larger number of herds. And if that happens, there are severe operational challenges. And technology has some role to play in easing the challenges and overcoming those barriers. So animal well-being is the root of all the successful farming entities throughout the world. Now, what we've been trying to do from the very outset as a technologist is to provide a platform which allows the scalability, allows functionality to evolve with time and meet the requirements in a dynamically shifting environment. Okay, so that's the drive behind any of the developments that NMR and ETS have been pursuing. So the system is fairly straightforward to visualize. And if you heard me speak before, it's fairly straightforward. The solution has its root. It's embodied in the collar. It goes around individual cows. And using standard telecommunications infrastructures, and indeed telecommunications standards, what we do is we download the data from each individual cow to a local PC. I won't be spending much time telling you what's in the collar, but I can assure you independent tests have, now that we've had them deployed all over the UK and the parts of Germany, have indicated a detection rate of around 95% and an improvement in submission rates by up to 20%. That's the proof of the pudding. Okay, these are commercial farms, commercial entities bringing back data to us which indicates marked improvement without the system to when they deploy the system. Then the ingenious thing is they talk about standalone systems. Standalone systems are indeed very valuable in their own right. So what we mean by that, there's a local PC. The data is downloaded from the collars of individual cattle, and you can see on the PC all your cows, and there'll be activity patterns associated with individual cows, and there'll be alerts that indicate the onset of heat. And then there's various functions that the GUI allows you to do to progress the process from the onset to insemination, etc. Now, the interesting thing is, and we've always prided ourselves in the fact, is that this is not about technology, this is all about data. It's all about the usefulness of the data that you generate from it. So for now, in order to try and get traction in the marketplace, we've concentrated on heat detection. and therefore we're trying to meet the demands of that particular issue within the farm. Now, once we have that data, that's what I want to concentrate on from now on. What is it that we can do with that data to even get a richer set of value points for individual users on the farm? Okay, so the concept of dissemination or sharing that data is very strong within our product development. Okay, so here it is. There's many of these collars out there now. A box on the head and neck of the cow. The location of the box isn't that critical because of the RF radiation from that box, and it's registered around the cow, and it actually measures the position of the head of the cow, and the statistics of that yield an awful lot of rich information. The raw data from that allows you to do many things. Okay, so here's conceptually what happens. We have a box with a switch in it, and we have the base station which collects data from individual cows. Now, if you were to try and determine one of the requirements to the farm, well, that's where cost as being the most important one. So what we've done is we've pegged back the solution to be fit for purpose at a correct price point. So the technology we use to download from the cow to the actual base station is the cheapest you get. It's low power, etc., etc. So the coverage is fairly modest, okay, in the hundreds of meters range. But that's because we know the cows are coming back to the dairy, to the milking parlour, and therefore there'll be an opportunity to download the data as soon as it enters that coverage point. But if you look at scalability, because we don't send all the data back from the actual collar itself, we can treat thousands of cows for each individual base station. So in itself, the essence of the solution allows you scalability on a number of cows that you can download to. But then you look at the geography. Some of the farms are getting bigger. So what we can do is we can increase the coverage by adding extra base stations. So if there's another shed down the road, we can add an extra base station. But the core of it still goes back to the PC and its data management capability and presentation capability. So consequently, we can start to do some very nice things about managing, understanding the system performance of individual collars. All of those things can be done behind the scenes without perturbing the farmer in any way. Okay? We've also integrated our system with NMR's Interherd system. So here we are being able to get more and more value out of the data that's available on the farm. And you can start correlating between activity patterns, not just for heat, but for other critical conditions the cow might suffer. I'll come back to remote access. So scalability in one sense allows you to, in a local area of an extensive farm environment. If we have what's routinely done, believe me, I'm not a farmer, so excuse me if I get this wrong, but there are heifer sheds further away from the main sheds, and these may be in the region of 1 to 2 kilometres away. So what do? We'll be able to cover those as well. So we can put collars in the heifer when it's born, and we can download data by having a bridge between our core, data management core, which is the PC. We can have a wireless link that goes from the shed with the computer to the heifer shed, and without the farmer worrying about it, you'll get all the data from the heifers displayed with all the other data. So we've got also the capability on the interface to group certain individual animals, ones with high activity, low activity, or indeed the heifers can be grouped. So you're beginning to bring more and more value to them. You're beginning to get a lot more, to cut out some of the challenges he has, some of the operational issues he has by having this drop in a relay. And again, it's no rocket science. Right, the cost code's got to be right, and it's got to be fit for purpose. So wireless relays, you don't have cabling, you can go across 1.5 kilometres. So you've got facilitation of addressing a wider range of farm environments. You can go across roads, across remote sheds, increase distance from a PC. So you're beginning to scale out, not just simply in number of cattle, but also in terms of geography and location of a dispersed farm environment. So here's an example. I wish I had you got a laser pointer? No. So what was there? Yeah, so here we go. That's the base station covering that region here. We've got an outer antenna here. We've got a wireless link coming from here across to here. So we can get data from here to here, no problem. And we have a second base station that looks after this area here. Okay, so it's fit for purpose, it's scalable, and we hope to have those systems deployed as we speak today. Okay? So what happens with remote access? It's really invaluable to be able to interrogate the system remotely. So what we routinely do with NMR is we share the screen of the PC. They're in Harrogate, we're in Glasgow, and we normally include the farmer in this. So we can talk the farmer through any issues. We can talk through each other's issues that we can. So we've got total and utter clear access to what's happening on the farm. We can determine any faults that are going on. We can schedule maintenance that needs to be done without the farmer knowing. And we begin value to each other from NMR's database to our own. We begin to understand local farming practices and try and optimize those practices for the farmer through, of course, NMR. So broadband bridge for us means internet access. So what I'm talking about here is going from the PC, which is routinely deployed within a shed where the cattle are housed. We want to make sure that's totally in isolation from any other PC the farmer might have because of issues of various software issues we want to avoid. So what we do is we drop a link, a wireless link from the PC to the farmer's PC inside his home. Now he's able to see what's happening real time, 24/7 inside his shed by reproducing what's happening in his PC. And because he's got internet access, it allows us to go through his connection right through to the silent herdsman platform. The broadband bridge, again, can be a wireless system. They can be 1.5 kilometers. So if his home's far removed from the sheds, it's possible to do. The other thing is, if he's got so just an intermediate step here. So he's got a wireless access point that goes to the internet. And we've got a client-router relationship from the PC down to his PC in the house and internet access. Very, very straightforward, but extremely powerful in managing the business. If he's got a Wi-Fi infrastructure already, our computer just fits into that nicely, okay? So we're using what's over there. We're leveraging the existing infrastructures that are there to disseminate the data that we generate. And we're beginning to, how am I doing? Are we okay? Yeah. So if a farm has a Wi-Fi network, all we have to do is use that access point, the client router perform the necessary functionality of sharing the data. Okay, so here we are, schematically, and it can grow and grow and grow. In this particular case, let me just point something out. Here in the ETS router, there's a capability to have a 3G download capability. So you could put a SIM card in here, and you can go through the normal mobile system to download anything that's on the computer back to remotely. But we find that the coverage, even in the UK, especially in the rural areas, is very, very variable. So basically, we want to get to the home access point as quickly as we can, okay? And from there, we can disseminate and view that information between partners all across the globe. In fact, we've had trials in New Zealand where we've done that. We've had trials in China where we've done that. So it's a very, very well part of the solution that we talk about. And this is the screen Ivan shares. And you can start to educate and train the farmer or the operator of the system to actually understand and interpret the activity patterns, because there's a lot more richness of data in here. Just heat. Our algorithm is targeted towards heat detection. There are activity patterns in here that are indicative of other states of the cow. And as we start to build up that database through NMR, and recently with the partnership with NMR and Genus, we've got access to databases which we integrate. Now, where as technologists, we can come in from there is we can fuse that data. We can fuse data from multiple sources. We can mine that data accordingly. We can look for patterns. We can look for correlations with them. And that's exactly what we're doing just now in the background. The more data we have, the more data we fuse, the more streams of data we look at, even the weather comes into the equation, you begin to understand, to have finer detail, the operational problems of the farm itself, down to individual cattle. Okay? So, finish off, as I will always finish off, I think what you'll find is that technology's got a really important role to play, but only if it's designed and tailored to the needs of your business. The core of ETS is not the hardware, okay? It's the data platform that hardware enables. It's a dynamic front end of trying to capture raw information about individual cows. But once you do that and you marry it with various other data streams that exist inside there, and indeed start to interplay with RFID technology, which is absolutely core to enhancement of the data that you collect, you're beginning to absolutely understand what's going on in individual farms down to the individual animals. Okay? Thanks very much, and I'm happy to take questions.